I think that it will be about 25 minutes, and I'll try to make it shorter, maybe. If
it's possible for you to have a 40, 45, 50 minutes. It's okay, because our time is approximately 2 hours, maybe 1 and
Okay. But it's better to have time for discussion if questions and so on. Okay, I'll start. Yes. So, first of all, I would like to thank everybody who joined the seminar in Friday evening after the busy week, and I'm also very grateful to Ina for her organizational efforts in supporting the idea of and sustaining the idea of this seminar, and her organizational her time and energy that make our meeting is possible. So the topic of my presentation today is weaponization of nature as a manifestation of anti-vitality of war. This presentation presentation is a further development of some of my thoughts, which were thoughts about the environmental and war interaction and war and brutalities of war and its impact on both human and natural world. Some of them were already presented during the Nordic Environmental Ethics School in Winter Symposium of Nordic Environmental Ethics School in Trondheim in Norway, and in follow-up article. It is also a part of my contribution to the current research project of the Department of Logic and Methodology of Science of Skovoroda Institute of Philosophy, National Academy of Science. The Russian aggression of Ukraine severely impacts the environment and disrupt human and natural environment and disrupt global and climate systems and other life support systems. The war violates inherent nature's right to exist. I consider the war to be an anti-vital phenomenon, as thus a crime against life and the world as a community, which includes both nature and everything which is involved in it, while peace is universal and vital value. This concept concept of the world as a community, or Mitwelt, was developed by Meyer-Abich in his book in 1993. One of the particular features of the current war is the severe weaponization of nature, of different kinds of resources like water, energy, food, etc. Since it is not possible within one presentation to analyze in details all aspects of nature weaponization during the current Russo-Ukrainian war, I will focus my presentation on weaponization of water and its multiple negative effect for the environment and humans, and the role of values for valuing water for efficient management, protection, and equitable and just access to it. And why I choose water, I think among other nature's element, I think it will be understandable from my presentation, because water and hydrosphere is an important element of life support system and the biosphere. and the biosphere. Water sustains the equilibrium of the global ecosystem, climate, and existence of all living beings, and the life of humankind. Nowadays, changes in global water cycles, including natural and anthropogenic disaster, water pollution, and water scarcity, contribute to the global environmental crisis and injustice. This asks for rethinking the value of water and searching for efficient solution to the problems humankind faces, and to ensure both human well-being and survival of non-human species, and sustaining the biosphere as a whole. This question belongs not only to the sphere of policy or management, but also to ethics. Understanding the role of values and their respect or neglect is especially important in times of conflicts and wars, when that affect water and water-related social economic systems, resulting in multiple negative effects for the environment and humans, and in war-torn societies, which see the aggravation of most of the challenges for environmental sustainability and human life, as well as the conflict of water values. The Russian aggression in Ukraine made explicit the problem of interconnection between water, environment, society, and values, when not only important functions of water are restricted, but also the negativistic power of water element is weaponized. Ethical discussion about the value of and valuing of water and other water-related resources employ different approaches to the typology of values and the justification of the value of water under the umbrella of water ethics. Water ethics encompasses all problems concerned with the challenges humans face and is relevant to many issues like peace, safety, social and environmental justice, human rights, freedom, cooperation, health, education, etc., and involves different knowledge, practices, and actors, as well as particular aspects of values. Since value represents the various ways in which things matter to humans, water may be estimated from different points of view and consist of multiple values, like intrinsic or value of existence, vital, sacral and symbolic value, economic, scientific and educational, recreational, inspirational and aesthetical, strategic as the conditions for the future existence of biosphere and sustainable life of the future generations. The concept of intrinsic value as a key to ethics is especially important for environmental ethics and water ethics, since intrinsic value is considered the ultimate value. It is opposed to other values that are considered extrinsic, instrumental, and utilitarian, and serve to particular purpose of satisfaction central needs of human beings. Intrinsic value can be defined as an inherent value, that is, the value of something depends entirely on what is inherent in this thing itself. Within the framework of water ethics, this means that the primary water value of water is in its very existence, which provides other functions and services of water and water-related ecosystems and resources. In other words, considering water as an intrinsic value means that it first must exist to serve as an instrument for achieving particular goals and satisfying certain needs. The various interpretation on the concept of intrinsic and instrumental values indicates these two categories form as conclusive value dichotomy. It reflects the dichotomy on the non-anthropocentric and anthropocentric approaches to nature and its entities. Another principal difference between these two categories of values is that objects of instrumental values are substitutable for other things that fulfill the same purpose, which, while objects of intrinsic value, are irreplaceable and belong to non-derived goals. In other words, if no apples are at hand, other fruits can provide the same nutrient and enjoyment. If no water, nothing can provide life-supportive services, neither for humans or non-human species and the biosphere. Thus, water is the ultimate intrinsic value and equal to its vital value and value of life. Scholars emphasize the necessity for more context-specific approach to consideration of values taking into account not only humans, but also more than human world. Thus, water can be considered as an intrinsic value in terms of the impossibility of its substitution by other substances for sustaining biosphere of all forms of life. The instrumental values of water are determined by, on the one hand, its intrinsic value or value of existence, and on the other hand, people's attitude to it, relations with it, and responsibility toward it. Instrumentalization is a derivative of goal setting, which is inherent in human activity. From these points of view, diverse instrumental values of water are relational. The form of instrumentalization depends on particular human goal. Besides of important role of water for human life, welfare and development, water may be a cause of disaster, conflict, hunger, and diseases in case of floods, natural catastrophes, and cataclysms, etc. The water element or the hydrosphere as a natural world in general is also a powerful carrier of hostile and negative feelings like aversion, fear, dislike, etc., and the source of antagonistic sentiments to a degree as great as any encountered in human experience. Stephen Keller proposed to describe this characteristic of nature and nature's elements through the concept of negativistic value. Human as goal-setting creatures can instrumentalize not only positive, vital, but also negativistic values of water. Thus, water weaponization is one of the forms of instrumentalization of negativistic value of water that has multiple impact on water-related ecosystems and infrastructure, as well as human and non-human well-being. In general, weapon means things or instruments used to kill, injure, or destroy, and the means of contending against another or defeating an enemy. It is also a means of gaining an advantage or defending oneself in conflict or contests. Most internationally accepted definitions of weapon are related to the term of conventional weapons as the most common and principal type of armament used in conflict globally, historically, up to the present time. Conventional weapons are not means of mass destruction like nuclear, radiological, chemical, biological, and other types of devices that are intended to harm a large number of people. Weaponization, in its turn, means the use as weapon of something that is not comprehended under the generally accepted meaning of the word weapon. Past and nowadays experiences of wars and other conflicts, including the current Russo-Ukrainian war, provide plenty of facts about the weaponization of energy, fuel, food, and different objects of civic infrastructure, like communication facilities, power stations, civic nuclear facilities, etc. Water weaponization means the manipulation of water for political instability, getting advances in battle or defense, for terror and blackmail of population, etc. Water becomes a weapon when water resources, water ecosystem, and water infrastructure are used as a tool in a violent conflict and as a part of warfare. Throughout history, both state and non-state actors have used water and water-related infrastructure to subjugate civilians or to benefit in combat of water-related violence. In combat and water-related violence continue to be a global and regional problem. The current Russo-Ukrainian war offers the latest and most brutal examples. The Pacific Institute mentions 1,298 conflicts where water and water-related infrastructure were a trigger or root or cause of different conflicts, like scarcity of water or violence from ancient times to now. This list includes the cases of using water as weapon and when water was a victim of wars and other conflicts. Among them, 3 accidents took place in Ukraine before 2014, 18 accidents between 2014-2022, and 2 after 24th February 2022 in this list. No means this list is not complete concerning data after the February 24, 2022. Water weaponization can be considered as a particular case of water instrumentalization and reduction to the tool of killing and blackmail. Such reduction neglects the intrinsic and other multiple vital values of water and makes explicit the anti-vitality of war and its ecocidal effects. Despite growing water challenges, the link between water scarcity and weaponization of water remains largely unexplored. The security implications are known, and the quantitative assessment of the global scale of this phenomenon severely underreported. However, the use of water and water infrastructure as a weapon can destabilize whole societies, and all human life is based on water resources and water-related ecosystem. The truth of this statement is confirmed by the consequences of and visible by the consequences of the water weaponization in the current Russo-Ukrainian war. The dramatic multidimensional consequences of water weaponization are explicit in the case of destruction of the major dam in Kakhovka hydropower plant in Ukraine that happened on June 6, 2023. It resulted in irreversible loss of unique part of nature, threatening the existence of many rare species and flora and fauna in the south of Ukraine, contamination of Dnieper River, Black Sea, and surrounding lands, including farmlands about 10,000 hectares by motor oil and other pollutants, etc. And around 1 million people were left without fresh water and lost their houses and other property. The rescue of people and animals took place under the constant shelling from the Russians. It is hardly possible to realize and assess the humanitarian and environmental cost of this disaster, but it is already obvious that it corresponds to the criteria of ecocide. And I will provide another examples of water weaponization during this war because it can be found in open source and in press, and for us it's more important to understand the nature of this phenomenon and what shall we do with it. Thus, the data about water weaponization and harm to the water-related ecosystem and infrastructure and their environmental, humanitarian, social, economical impacts in Ukraine are incomplete since the war is going on. Part of the territories affected by water weaponization is still under occupation and hardly available for data collection and monitoring and investigation due to intensive territory mining, risk of shelling, and other military actions. Not only water ecosystem of Ukraine are suffering from this war, it also impacts the whole Europe directly through transboundary water causes and indirectly due to massive emission of CO2 and other harmful substances, etc. Despite of concern of the national and international government and NGOs and international communities about the environmental consequences of Russo-Ukrainian war, the role of fresh water in the military conflict and impact of the war on Ukraine's water resources and infrastructure is little addressed in the media and little understood by the public, and it should be added by international community. There is an existential question follows from this: how to avoid water weaponization and water wars? The ethical consideration of water weaponization includes at least two aspects. The first, safeguarding the water's rights or rights of water in all its material or physical form within the broader concept of right of nature as the right of nature to exist, which is based on recognition of intrinsic and vital values that take precedence over other values and represent a non-anthropocentric approach to nature. And the other aspect is right to water as a people's inherent right and an integral part of the human right to healthy and safe environment, as it is acknowledged in many international conventions, report, policy papers, and national legislation of most countries. Water weaponization results from disrespect of intrinsic, vital, and other positive values of water, as well as neglecting the existing international humanitarian law. Destroying civilian water infrastructure is illegal under international law and immoral from ethical and humanitarian points of view. From this follows that the Russian aggression in Ukraine and the water weaponization demonstrate brutal disregard of international conventions, ethical norms and human existence, and ethics of care about water and about nature in general. The way to diminish the negative environmental, economic, social, humanitarian, and cultural impacts of water weaponization in Ukraine as a nation at the national and transnational levels is to stop the Russian aggression in Ukraine as soon as possible. Another critical step is to develop an efficient strategy for water rehabilitation, remembering the restoration of water ecosystem about the restoration of water ecosystem for their own sake, environmental sustainability, and water infrastructure innovation. This strategy should be based on the idea that water management and governing are all about values. So this is, I finish my presentation and tell you probably everything I want prepare for today. Maybe I was a little bit nervous because it's my first talk also in this season, let's say. And I will be happy to hear about your reaction and to answer your questions, because this topic is really very, very crucial for us, especially after the destroying of Kakhovka power hydropower plant. It's unprecedented disaster of huge scale.
Thank you, dear Tetiana. Really, it's a courage to be first this academic year session, really, and have to start our discussion. Please, Katerina, Pani Katerina.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. First of all, I would like thank you so much for your presentation. Very interesting aspects are discussed. As for me, I would like ask you about your personal understanding of right of water. This aspect.
So yeah,
it is represented in intrinsic values in system of this system of values and conversational values. Which aspect of these relations values are represented here? Okay, please.
So right of water to exist, or water's right to exist, is a basic condition of to enable water to fulfill, let's say, such anthropocentric terminology, fulfill other functions to sustain natural life of nature and life of human beings and other needs of human beings. In order to have, for instance, from human points of view, to live, to have water supply, to have opportunity to use water for sanitation, economic needs, etc., for recreation, etc. We need that water ecosystem, existence of water ecosystem. So we have to do our best to support the existence of water, in all its physical forms. This means we, in such a way, we respect the right of water and as a part of nature to exist, and its intrinsic value value of existence.
Okay, I will continue. Maybe later. I agree, but maybe later I will ask some other aspects. Maybe who will represent these rights of water?
Who?
Yes.
I see.
Easy to recognize, but to fulfill this, you talk about functional fulfillment of these rights.
I see that from the legal points of view, so within framework of legislation, so water is not participants. Water or water-related ecosystems can't be participant of juridical process. So water can't protect its right to exist in court like human beings can't as participants of social relations. So from this point of view, the rights of water to exist can be other advocacy organization, like public organization, like NGO, like other interest group, international groups, etc. And it's also fixed in many international documents. And there is a precedence in some countries when NGOs apply to the court to protect on behalf of rivers or lake and other water system to protect the right of this system for existence, for not to be destroyed, and so on. It can be compared with such representation of rights of water or other natural ecosystem can be compared with representation of interest of children in court, or represented interest of some group of disabled people in the court by other persons.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, Christoph, dear Christoph, your question? Or
Yes, thank you very much. This is also only a remark. So thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. It's a small point which also regard the intrinsic nature of the intrinsic value of water. So I would have some objections against that, and I don't think that you need that for your main theory. The main theory was about the weaponization of water, and this is independent, of course, of the an eventual intrinsic value of water. So the weaponization is, of course, directed against humans. So, and this gets then water, in this case, gets a negative value for humans, but an instrumentally negative value. And so also you had two arguments, if I remember well, for defending the instrumental value of water. The one was that its very existence is the presupposition for having then an instrumental value. But this comes up again to an instrumental value of water. So the very existence then would be only an instrumental value for the use for humans, for instance. And the other argument was that it is not substitutable, but again, substitutable for human usage. And so again, we have here an instrumental value of water. So I have some doubts about this aspect of your theory, that we have an instrumental value of water, or also this goes a bit in the direction of what Katarina Karpenko asked, if there is a right of water itself. So I don't think that there is something, what you mentioned, for instance, if there has been destructed the Kakova power plant and the dam there. So I don't think that this is something which interests the water that much, the water itself that much. It's something which interests us humans. And so this is again an negative instrumental value of the usage of water. So I think for your theory, for what you want to develop, that water can be used as a weapon, this is not necessary. And I think it's a far too strong metaphysical assumption for your theory. So I think you could do well without assuming this. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I also, because I discovered this issue of intrinsic value, and started how it is interpreted in different sources and by different scholars, and it is really very contradictional concept of intrinsic value itself. And maybe I have to think about the really necessity to apply to it, and just to consider different aspects of water instrumentalization. But for human needs, for positive instrumentalization for good or for bad, like weaponization. And at the same time, when we consider a step a bit far from, we also have think not only about our own interest, but about also interest of non-human species. And from this point of view, it seems to me that intrinsic value is important because it is vital value. It sustains not only our well-being, our welfare, and satisfies our different interests, but also sustains all very life on the earth. And from this point of view, it seems that intrinsic value is quite important for quite important concept. But of course, I will think about how to outline it in more clear way.
Perhaps, if I may, some remark. What you said about now extending the usage of water to also non-human animals, for instance, or plants and so on, so that this the foundation for every living creature, water. But this is again an instrumental value of water. So what you extended then was perhaps the intrinsic or the set of intrinsically valuable objects from going beyond what is as being intrinsically valuable, taking the human life and, for instance, human pleasure and things like that, to extending it to, for instance, the life of animals, of plants, and so on. But again, water would then be something instrumental for these other beings, for plants and for animals.
Thank you, Chris.
I will think about because it's not easy dilemma. Thank you very much for your remarks.
Larissa Karachevtseva, thank you so much that you join us. I dream about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry for a little delay, but I want to launch another point and a little bit beyond this dichotomy, intrinsic and instrumental values, and ask Pani Tetiana another question about water weaponization. Actually, Pani Tetiana knows that I'm very much involved in ecophenomenology, and I have this perspective of you. But I want to ask Pani Tetiana this kind of question. So we remember this disaster, when Kakhovska Dam and Kakhovska power plant were destructed. And it was very interesting reaction in Ukrainian society, because as far as we see videos, and it was definitely attack on Ukrainian identity and Ukrainian collective memory. So what I mean, just after this horrible destruction, it was a plenty of videos about Ukrainian hidden history, Ukrainian Cossack graves which were under the water. And how could we explain this reaction? So as far as I see, from this reaction, the point is not only resources. The point is not only water as water. The point is attack on the whole Ukrainian identity. And it was a very clear, recompensation in the media. So let us rethink our identity. Let us rethink our history. I want your comments in reaction on that, if possible.
Yeah, I also thought about this question, about this problem. It's not so easy question to answer. This question needs in-depth research, because on the one hand, we remember that dams construction and power station construction, it's not only the way of instrumentalization of water resources for energy supply and so on, but it also was used as a demonstration of human power over nature, especially totalitarian power over nature. And building of dam cascades on Dnieper River it was not only the demonstration of it was not only implementation of certain economic plans, but also was implementation of power of totalitarian regime over nature and over humans, and which neglected you're right, human history, identity, and so on. And it well shown by Alexander Dovzhenko in poem of Sea, and we know many examples of destruction of whole parts of human national history that appeared under the water. And after this flooding, after this terrible act of undermining of dam, the Ukrainian society, in certain extent, split up into two camps. One group of people raise the voices in favor of restoration of ecosystem as it was before construction of Dnieper power stations, or Kakhovka power station and other power stations, and to restore the so-called Great Meadow or Veliki Lug as a part of Ukrainian history, identity connected with 18th century, with Cossack glory time, and so on. But there is only the generation of this is a matter of history of many people who remember who lived before construction of Kakhovka power station. They very little group of people, and they don't remember how it was before construction of this power station. And during these 15 years of erection or construction of this power station, the new identity of people was formed, which used to live in this new environment, new social and economic, new natural social and economic environment. And for instance, Kakhovka Sea and everything connected with this, with Kakhovka Sea, Nova Kakhovka Sea, Kakhovske More, and whole agricultural complex was connected with this hydropower station and its infrastructure. So the destruction of this power station is also destruction of the identity and life of people who lives with us. So, and this is dilemma. What kind of identities We can of supporting which kind of identities we have to choose in when we try to solve to answer the question, what is father? What shall we do with this catastrophe, with this real catastrophe? And I wouldn't be for myself, I haven't answer. What should we respect more? Our historical memory of about 18th century, about Kazakh glory, or welfare of people who live with us now. So it would be very careful consideration of all pro and contra, and evaluation of all interest. And also we have to think about future. What is better for future and future generation? Not only about past, but also for future.
Thank you very much for answer and so rich, reaction on my question. I actually pretty convinced, become more and more convinced that the whole catastrophe of ecocide very much attack against Ukrainian identity as it is. So this is what I really became more and more convinced. Thank you for answering.
Thank you. Any question, discussion, and remarks? Thank you, Alexander Kulik, please.
Well, thank you for your report. Really very fruitful ideas. I think that it is necessary to state that this war is not only a war against Ukrainians, not only a war against freedom, democracy, it is also a war against vitality itself. I think that it is very important thesis. I have a question to you. It is a difficult question, difficult issue, but maybe you will help me to understand. Of course, it is ecocide. I think that Kakhovka disaster is an example of ecocide. Could you explain the linkage between two terms, ecocide and genocide? Is it possible to connect them? I think it is possible, but could you explain the way? Thank you.
Yes, of course, because you're right that ecocide and genocide are closely connected phenomena. Not all ecocides result in genocide, but there is a notion of ecologically induced genocide or ecologically generated genocide, because each so we have to go back to the definition of ecocide, which means massive destruction of ecosystems with long-lasting consequences. So it means that, and criteria of ecocide is a destruction of nature, and withdrawal of big areas of nature from use by humans, and removing people from their native lands. And this second and third point is correspond also to criteria of genocide. So, and in this area, ecocide and genocide are overlapping. So, because many acts of genocide have ecocidal, certain ecocidal backgrounds.
Thank you very much. Really a very clear criteria. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody else? Anybody else? But when I would like this case to continue the question of Alexander about ecocide, you mentioned about criteria of ecocide. Can you explain its more detail, how to conceptualize, how to maybe to create more reflective, philosophical reflective system understanding of criteria of ecocide?
Okay, thank you. Because I worked on the topic of ecocide during the last year, and I prepared also a chapter for the international project, which is called Ontology of Ecocide, and it's supposed to be published so by the end of the year, and I'm very looking very much for outcome of this project. And I discovered this this topic. Now I not to so just again the main criteria, the topic of ecocide was first raised under the in the time of Vietnam War, and it was result. It was the very term of ecocide was proposed by American biologist and bioethicist Arthur Westing, and he compared the massive application of orange. Agent Orange in America, in Vietnamese forest for defoliation, which resulted in not only in destruction, complete destruction of tropical forests, but also farmlands, and caused many diseases of local population and American soldiers who participate in this in spreading this defoliant. And it is also interesting that Westing also was a scientist who develop these chemicals for agricultural needs. But the question is that this period of Vietnam War became the start of the discussion about the ecocide, and this period was also the time of development of so-called new social movements like feministic movement, pacifist movement for human rights, and environmental movements. So, and during this since end of beginning of 1970s till now, the term of ecocide passed away from characteristic of effect of concrete chemicals in on ecosystem to more general notion, and not only war can result in ecocide, but also many economic activities can result in ecocide, like again big dams construction, some forms of forestry, fisheries, agriculture, and there are many international organizations called Stop Ecocide Foundation. It is a non-governmental organization which works very close with International Court of crimes of war, and it prepares a document which should include ecocide as a fifth crime of the war. And again, many NGOs raise their voice, and not only NGOs, many governments also and other actors raise their voices that not only war can cause ecocide, but also other forms of human activities. And when we look at the list of examples of ecocide, we can find two cases of ecocide, which from the former came from the former Soviet Union. It is a Chernobyl accident, and disappearance of Aral Sea in Uzbekistan as a result of overexploitation of water resources, Amur Darya and Sir Darya, and which were polluted, and water completely was used for cotton growing, and this very indeed very dramatic story, the disappearance of whole big ecosystem. And the criteria of ecocide again is a big and long-lasting destruction of large-scale and long-lasting destruction of ecosystem that enable people to use natural resources for food and for satisfying their basic needs, and also for removal displacement people from their native lands. This is very important. This is very important points, and this points was added by Robert Falk. It's another American scientist and lawyer who also contributed very much in development of the concept of ecocide. And this point of displacement people from their native lands is very important as a condition of ecocide. So this means that where this territory, ecosystem are not suitable for human life, and this also means that they threatens the life of certain groups of people, communities, ethnic groups, and so on. And from this, we can move to the definitions of criteria of genocide, like they defined in convention in the law on genocide. So for me, there are three basic criteria. And the third one is very important. And both Chernobyl is correspondent to this criteria because it was very destructive damage to ecosystem, very large-scale destructive and with long-lasting consequences that resulted is that people were not able to use these lands and other natural resources for their basic needs because they became poisonic by radiation and so on. And many people we know were removed from area of polluted area to another places. The same we see with case of Kakhovka power station disaster, that it's a destruction of big ecosystems of large territories. People were removed, and this territory is not possible to use for satisfying human needs because many pollutants which came from the bottom of Kakhovka Sea to the surface of Earth, and it needs very precise, very careful investigation about the use of these territories. We can't use just the bottom of Kakhovka Sea for growing corn or wheat or other yield, because it might be dangerous due to pollution of the soil on the bottom of Kakhovka Sea. So it is very, very complex question. What to do with it?
And thank you so much for this detailed explanation. It will be more clear for me and for my future reflection about this. Thank you. Any question, remarks? Katerina, Pani Katerina, you
yes,
told that you are going
possible,
to.
please.
Yeah.
If anybody else, okay. For me, it is very interesting. You say about weaponization. Yes, it means that water is regarded as a conventional value here, and in the context of contemporary war, Ukraine against Russia. Okay, could you predict on the basis of your analysis that in nearest or further future, the water would be used as a means to push Ukraine by other countries to sign negotiations, some kind of with Russia, as a means? I suppose that you have chosen this topic, the water, not occasionally, but maybe you know some secret about this. What does it mean? Why water? Not only according to Thales, but also to ordinary people. Okay, how could you predict? Could your analysis help you to say about water as a main means in
as a topic for negotiation? Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's difficult to predict anything about future relationships with Russia, because Russia unpredictable itself in its very nature, if it's possible to use this word. So I choose the topic of water because water under the condition of global environmental crisis, climate crisis, it became one of the most scarce global resource. And especially it is very crucial question for Ukraine, because Ukraine belongs to water. Even before war, Ukraine belonged to water deficiency countries. We experienced the lack of water resources, and this war added very much to negative impacts on our water resources. I can imagine that this war impacts not only Ukrainian water resources, but water resources of Russian Federation close to border, because we have special common water basin and water courses with Russian Federation. But I looked, tried to find some at least any reaction of Russian non-governmental organization which should be interested in protection of water resources, and but it's silent. It's nothing. So would it be what is the matter of a negotiation with Russia? We would have many things to negotiate in future, because each war concluded by a certain kind of negotiation. And also the topic of negotiation will be the compensation of damage of our water resources, and not only water resources. And we should find the mechanism. And also the topic of this case of Kakhovka hydropower station is also considered not only by Ukrainians as a Ukrainian community as an act of ecocide, but also it is considered as an act of ecocide by international community, special organization. But moreover, I think that we still don't use all mechanisms we have, because probably you know that our criminal legislation has a special article about the crime of ecocide, which was adopted in the mid of 90s, and not almost all all countries of former Soviet Union has this article in their national legislations. And it was a reaction of new independent states on environmental crisis of the period of the end of the end of Soviet Union. But we had only one precedent to apply this article this year on some for two ordinary workers and some small water facilities, which is no. But I think that now we have to apply this article, and it's not only my point of view. But it's also a point of view of international experts to Russian authorities who committed this crime against a crime of ecocide as a precedent.
In this context, we have a question about Rome statute. We didn't sign it, and now only Yerevan,
Armenia signed it.
Armenia tries to will sign it.
There are many nuances in and many nuanced consequences follows from joining to Rome Statute, and the crime of ecocide is still included in as a fifth crime of war in Rome Statute. It is also in process, but European Union already adopted the necessity to include in European legislation in European framework the legislation about the crime of ecocide. And we'll see. And about our nevertheless, I don't know about the procedure of Ukraine joining to Rome Statute, because Russia is not a side of Rome Statute. United States are not side of the Rome Statute. So international lawyers have to think to explain all pro and contras and all of this procedure and predict all nuances of our participation in this international legislation framework. Because I'm no specialist on this international law and such. Because I listen many voices in favor of our joining to it, and some fears about possible negative consequences for us when we join this document, and maybe so it's difficult question. I'm not specialist in it.
you know, it was also some kind of manipulation, because the first country which signed this article, included this article to legislation, was Russia, Russian Federation. All other countries repeated even in the formulation the same article. What does it mean? Maybe it was also some kind of instrumental approach, and
no, I hear
because today
about
several times we can punish this Skabeyeva or Solovyov when Skabeyev claims delete everything, destroy all life in Kharkiv region. It's 20 years of to prison could be given according to legislation of Russian Federation. It is, but at the same time, it was.
I'll tell you more. I can tell you more that in 1996, Russian Federation initiated the Convention about Nuclear Terrorism. And this convention was adopted by international community, but now Russia acts as a nuclear terrorist and blackmailing the global community by its nuclear weapons, and weaponize also civic nuclear infrastructure, like it was Chernobyl nuclear power Chernobyl zone, and Zaporizhzhia nuclear power, Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. So Russia is very cynic in this extent, and so the events of the last period events demonstrate the weakness of international community in terms that they are not ready to, the international institutions have no instrument to act, to react on such cynic behavior of certain actors. So this probably the all international system should be reframed somehow after, because, but this is not easy question.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's interesting and global discussion. It will be continued. Any question? Maybe I would add some positive and optimistic remarks here from my beloved city, from Odessa. Some, because you tell about some, it's impossible to predict, it's impossible to foresee from point of view of some negative aspects, but you know that Odessa suffered from Kakhovka catastrophe too, and we don't, first time, we don't hope that we will swim in our water, Black Sea water, all of our life. We suffered, we lost our hope, but at the same time, at the beginning of the summer, approximately from the end of July, our environmental experts gave us good news. It's possible to use this territory. It's possible to swim. And just now, I'm at the time of my summer holiday, I every day swim in the Black Sea, because I don't believe that it's possible. And maybe the power of water to rebirth is enormous.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's some optimistic point in our discussion that devote to the really major negative event, negative consequences of the human activity. It's my small addition.
You're absolutely right, Ina, because really nature has a big potential for self-sustaining, for innovation, and we saw it in Chernobyl zone when how it was restored, self-restored during the time of organizing this kind of reserve. Nature reserve there, but nature's potential for self-sustaining is also limited. So fortunately, nature still have it: water, forest, and other ecosystem. But this limits has been becoming more and more narrow. And when we look at, for instance, such a methodology of calculating of Earth overshooting day, do you know what does it mean? So Earth overshooting day is a calculation of the day in the year when humankind use annual stock of resources, and this not year resources, not during the year, but it's this period of use of annual use of natural resources. Natural resource became shorter and shorter, and this year and every year it's the step of shortage became more close to the beginning of year. It means that the potential of nature for restoration, for innovation and self-sustaining, and consequently sustaining our life and our well-being is also limited. So, and we shouldn't rely only on nature potential. So it's good that nature is doing its own job for our positive feelings and for our welfare and well-being. But we also should help it.
Thank
and
you.
It's really great that Black Sea is again clean, and we can use it not on for our pleasure, for recreation, for aesthetic, and part of again as a part of our identity, as a part of our life. And in this sense, it is it's not irreplaceable. So we have only one Black Sea for Ukraine, because in these terms is it irreplaceable.
Thank you so much. And my comment, I would like to continue quickly, briefly, the line of phenomenological approach that was raised by Larissa. This is phenomenological understanding of feeling, meaning of the people. And for example, the citizens of Odessa felt and continue to feel this vulnerability of the nature, this feeling of vulnerability. We have to maybe to present it in the social media, social networks, and we can to collect these testimonies of the feeling of the people, and such as maybe new kind of the cosmic consciousness. First, they are feeling unity of the universe, and at the same time, such kind of feeling of vulnerability. It's a new, maybe, moment in the understanding of this cosmic unity. As for me, every day we are walking across the Black Sea side and see some terrible destruction after this rebirth. But at the same time, this basic feeling of the vulnerability and our responsibility, we are suffering with together in the unity with nature. And maybe it's one of the phenomenological result of this event. Thank you.
To collect such personal evidence and personal testament about how the people feel and live with suffer with nature, and we already have a quite a big personal stories from Chernobyl accidents. Many evidence how people try to destroy how people were suffering, being replaced from their native land, not because they leave their material goods, but because they left their native land, their nature, and so on. And many so-called Samasoli return back to this area not because they feel much better in their native land than somewhere else. And now we have again the same stories with Odessa, with Kakhovka, with Khersonshina, all Kherson region, and many Chernihiv region, because where people and Zhytomyr region, where people are not allowed to go forest and to collect mushrooms and berries and other resources, which also part of their natural life, part of their life, and they feel themselves very unhappy and uncomfortable about this. So it's a great experience which need to be somehow generalized and rethinked, and it's a big question.
Thank you.
Say.
Thank you so much. If you don't have any question, any remarks, any notions, maybe we have to finish our session, our meeting today. And thank you so much for your attendance. Before our meeting, we talked with Tetiana. Maybe it's not so good day, Friday evening, but it's mistake. It was mistake. You are here. You are with us, and we will continue our dialogues. And I would like to invite you next month, November. Just now I'm in the fruitful dialogue with one of the very famous philosopher from United States. I don't want to talk now, to open now his name, but his article and philosophical reflection on the war in Ukraine had a great impulse, many discussion about this article, and this philosopher, with pleasure, he will ready to be with us next month, and it will be approximately near World Philosophical Day. 16th of November, if I don't have mistake, it's a World Day of Philosophy, UNESCO. And near this day, I will invite you new meeting in our international philosophical seminar. Thank you so much.
It's supposed to be Monday, yes?
We find the time.
It's not exactly, yeah.
Because he's from United States, it's the differences in the time, but it's
Oh.
some kind of maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, we can be flexible, but it is really great to have this vision and from outside and from. Okay, thank you very much, Ina, and thank you
very
everybody
much,
for your
Tetiana.
time, for your attention, for your questions and remarks, and there's a lot of food for thinking about values and about the reframing and about many other things.
And
We are waiting for your report at the time of international conference in Paderborn.
yeah,
Yeah.
We are waiting.
and I
It
my
was a very good experience to
Mhm.
have practice on
Yeah.
this topic.
And maybe I have some proposition for permanent members, participants of the permanent seminar. We can to use our space of our seminar for information about our important conferences, symposiums, and events. And maybe after visit to Edinburgh, we will, together with Katerina, we can present our our vision of this conference in Edinburgh.
Yeah. It would be great.
If you have some important information for all together, for all, please you can send us, and we will we'll open this information for all our participants. Thank you. And maybe I will send you information about our all Ukrainian competition for young scientists that was established by Odessa University and Odessa Humanitarian Tradition for memory of our great colleagues Nelly Ivanova in the section Phenomenology, Humaneutic, Philosophy of Dance, and Philosophy of Love. I will send you invitation for your young colleagues. Thank you. And
all we need in our is love.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, thank you. Thank you very
you.
much again
Thank you,
for
Tetiana.
joining, and have a nice, safe evening and a nice weekend. Enjoy yourself and enjoy nature.
And
Thank you, Tetiana.
thank you so
Thank you all.
much. Bye.
Thank you very much to all of you, in particular, of course, to Tetiana Gardashuk and to Ina for organizing this. And have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you,
much.
Christoph. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Tetiana, our 4th month of summer is continued, and maybe tomorrow I will come to my favorite Black Sea site, and I will swim and think about your speech, your topic, and swim with these ideas.
So enjoy anyway. Enjoy your 4th month of summer and Black Sea, and my best to Black Sea. I'm missing for Odessa because it was, for me, it was such a big stress. It was bombing. I found pictures of myself in my folder, and it was so pitiful.
Yeah, and we
So,
have
but we have to resist even emotionally to these attacks, because as Golda Meir said, we want to live and they won't kill us, so we have to mobilize our willing to live.
Yes, and my dream to invite all of the participants of our seminar in Odessa, not online and not offline. I don't like this word, but as a living person on the living city, in the living
In
city,
person, yeah.
Dream about, and maybe it will soon.
Materialized.
Yeah.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Светлана,
Мы только вдвоем остались. Я
не,
тут
Татьяна
пытаюсь.
еще, Татьяна.
Я тут пытаюсь
Готовьтесь,
выйти.
Светлана, готовься, готовься. Татьяна, я
Да.
вам отдельно, пани Татьяна, я не знаю, сейчас на языки, да, быстро переключусь. Вы просто, не знаю, я вам благодарна безмерно. Я поняла, что не так просто английский вот так вот. Но давайте делать это, не боимся, делаем. И становимся как бы такими конкурентоспособными в наших дискуссиях, да?
Да.
Это просто...
Спасибо большое. Действительно, английский язык – это большая смелость. Я понимаю, что это огромное напряжение. Так что будем продолжать говорить на английском, несмотря на то, что...
Сейчас мне трудно переключиться сразу так, да? Татьяна.
Инна, я сейчас...
Татьяна, микрофон. Вы говорите, микрофон выключен.
Да. Я активно работаю с английским материалом, но возможности коммуникации очень... Вот, и когда это написанное или прочитанное, или продуманное пытаешься вот вербализовать, иногда просто деревенеет.
Ну, все было прекрасно, там только вначале так понятно, а потом ваша тема, и вы развернулись. Ничего, что я просто не могу сейчас с английского, но украинский мне немножко...
Давайте, да, потому что...
Это не важно сейчас. Но когда Кристоф говорит, ой, вы знаете, иногда пишет, что-то так вот иностранных не так много, а больше украинских. Ой, я не остановила запись сейчас, прошу прощения.